What is going on, everyone? This is Eric coming at you from just outside of Hartford, Connecticut. And today we're going to look at my 2021 MLB standings, and this is how I think they're going to end when the season comes to an end. Now, this is, of course, assuming a 162-game schedule, which it looks like we're going to get, fingers crossed. Now, basically how I'm going to do this, I'm going to start with the AL West, then do the AL East, then do the AL Central. Then I'm going to discuss the playoffs, how I have them. I'm not going to go into predictions in the playoffs. And then I'm going to do the same with the NL, go NL West, NL East, NL Central, discuss the playoff teams I have. So without further ado, we will jump right in. And we're going to start with the AL West, as I said. And the AL West is going to be an interesting division. So this is a division where I have the Houston Astros coming out on top. And that might surprise some people, but it probably shouldn't. Yes, Houston did lose George Springer. That's a big bat to lose. I understand that. We don't know how long Framber Valdez will be out for. The positive is Valdez does look like he's going to return this season. That's a huge plus for Houston. Plus, they just signed, Jake Odorizzi. So their pitching rotation got a little better with that addition. So maybe this team can make a run in the postseason. Of course, Kyle Tucker's going to have some big shoes to fill. Miles Straw looks like he's going to be a very good speed demon as well. So those are two guys. I do like them both as replacements for George Springer. Of course, we're going to have to see what happens with this team. The pitching is there. The hitting is there. Carlos Correa should have a very strong season this year because, remember, he is a pending free agent this offseason. So I do have high hopes for Houston. They definitely should win this division, and they should come out on top. Altuve has to bounce back from last year. Bregman should definitely have a little bit better 2021 than he did in 2020. Now, I have the Angels finishing second in this division. And this was a dogfight between them and Oakland, but I gave Los Angeles the edge because they have perennial MVP candidate Mike Trout. If you have Mike Trout, I think you automatically have a massive edge over anyone in a tiebreaker situation. Trout, obviously, perennial MVP, love this guy. Now, Shohei Ohtani looked very good in spring training, specifically as a hitter. He hit above 400, I believe it was, at least last I saw. He had a good number of home runs, so I'm very excited if I'm a fan of Houston. LA. There's a lot of talent there. Of course, Anthony Rendon should have a solid year in 2021. You should be able to get more guys on base. The pitching staff is a little bit of a question mark, but I do think they have the assets to make a trade at the deadline. And Joe Adell cannot do worse than he did in 2020, that's for sure. Adell probably doesn't figure to have a big role in this team right off the bat, but when he does, he needs to do better than last year because that was just uncharacteristically horrible. Oakland, I have them behind LA because, simply put, this team has key pieces. Of course, Olson and Chapman, their first and third baseman, respectively, they will rebound from rough 2020s. Both of those guys are great, gold glovers. I love them both as players. They're both going to have to rebound. So we're going to have to see what happens with them. Outside of those two guys, though, I'm very skeptical on this team. Yes, they did acquire Elvis Andrus this offseason, but he's not the player he was, 5 years ago. So we'll have to see how they do. And my big concern with Oakland is the lack of a pitching staff. Jesus Luzardo looks like a future stud, but the future isn't 2021 for him. I think he'll have a breakout year this year, but it's not going to be a, ace level breakout. Oakland needs to make a move at the deadline to really start becoming a true contender in my eyes, and they're not going to do it. They're not known for doing that. I have Seattle finishing fourth in this division. So the Mariners, obviously, they got rid of their horrible GM. And the positive news, too, for them is Jared Kelenic should make his debut. Whether it's in April, May, June, we don't know. But Kelenic, when he makes his debut, Seattle fans are going to have something to look forward to. They do have some good players at the major league level, but good does not equal great. So there's definitely a lot of room to grow if you're Seattle. And getting some of your minor leaguers coming up now will definitely help you out. Lastly, I have the Texas Rangers. Where to begin with Texas? This is a team that's in a rebuild. If you're a player of value on this team, I'm not expecting you to last. I think they're going to end up trading away designated hitter Chris Davis. I mean, they just traded for him this offseason, but he seemed like a good buy low candidate for me in my eyes. And then, of course, Joey Gallo, also, I believe, a pending free agent in the 2022 offseason. I don't think he'll make it through Texas. I don't think he'll spend the whole season in Texas. We'll have to see. He can't do much worse than he did in 2020. So, as you can see, I have Houston as the 3 seed in the playoffs and LA as the 5. So now we're going to go to the AL East. And the AL East is another division that's always very competitive. And to start it off, we have the New York Yankees winning this division. Now, you might be thinking it's pretty obvious. Yeah, I get that. But listen, this team is probably the only team that can realistically has a good shot at taking out the Dodgers if they can stay healthy. So the Yankees, this is a team that's probably the front runners for the AL pennant this year. Even before you consider Luis Severino should be returning, probably around June or maybe July. So this team is competitive. The real question, of course, is can they stay healthy? Of course, Judge, Stanton, these guys never stay healthy. You're hard-pressed to find, you'd be lucky to see 60 games with both those guys in the lineup. So there's a lot of talent in New York. Gio Urshela looks like he's going to have a solid bounce back as well for the 2021 campaign. So if I'm a Yankees fan, I'm very excited about the future. Tampa Bay, I have sneaking in the playoffs as a 4 seed. Now, you might think I'm crazy for saying sneaking into the playoffs when they're the defending AL champs. This team looks like they're going to have some problems. They traded away, Blake Snell. That was surprising, but we'll have to see what happens. Of course, Randy Arozarena is one of those big-time who-knows players. A lot of people are high on him. A lot of people are low on him. I'm in the middle. So this is a big year for him. How will he do? We'll have to see. He might be the guy that decides the Rays' fate this year, as weird as it sounds. So, of course, if Kevin Cash keeps pulling pitchers after 5 innings of solid play, this team's not going to make it far. But still, breathing right down their necks is the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, Toronto's a team I really like, and it pained me to put Tampa over them. But I just think Tampa's more of a team at this point. Toronto, very good team. The problem with them, though, is they're too young. I don't trust players like Kevin Biggio and Bo Bichette in the playoffs today. Give them a year. I think they'll be competitive in 2022. This pitching staff is very good as well. They got Ryu there. So I do like the pitching staff, at least the top half of it. I like the offense. I just say give them a year. George Springer's veteran influence will be crucial for this team. Boston's a very strange team. I've seen them as a team with projected 95 losses. I've seen them as a team projected to make the playoffs. So it's just kind of crazy with Boston. I'm more in the middle with them. I don't think they're going to be amazing, but I don't think they're going to be a 95 loss team. I think you're talking about a team that's going to win, 75, 77 games this year. So solid team. The offense is there. There are some question marks, of course. Francie Cordero, we don't know what he's going to do. But there's a lot of guys that are close to coming up from the minors. Of course, Jeter Downs should make his debut. Jarren Duran should make his debut soon. So those are big names that should be making their debut. Boston will need them. And of course, Chris Sale might make a debut this year. We'll have to see. He should. That will help this team out. The pitching staff, real big question mark. Baltimore, thanks for playing. I hope you guys enjoy having some key prospects, hopefully starting to make their debuts. We might see Adley Rutschman come up. I doubt it. You're probably talking more 2022 for him. But it will be very nice to see Trey Mancini return. And this team, I don't see them as a 100-loss team this year, but they're in a tough division. I think they're going to have a solid year, all things withstanding. The offense isn't going to be there. The pitching isn't going to be great. I get that. But this is still a competitive team. Watch out for Baltimore. The future is coming if you are an Orioles fan. Lastly, in the AL, we are going to have the AL Central. And we're going to start off with the Chicago White Sox, who I actually have winning this division. Now, some people might be saying, why do you have Chicago winning the division over Minnesota? Wait a second. You don't even have Minnesota ranked as a playoff team. We'll get to that. Chicago, I was very high on these guys last year. I know that. If you guys watched any previous videos for baseball, I love Nick Madrigal. Love this guy as a player. He's amazing, okay? I could go on a long conversation about Nick Madrigal. I could do the same with Shane Bieber. So, I just think Chicago's there. They're ready to compete. Of course, Jose Abreu looking great. Yes, losing Eloy Jimenez really hurts this team. But he should be back in around late August to early September. That will help this team. And we'll have to see what happens. But it doesn't look like they're going to have a massive power drop or anything like that. Because Andrew Vaughn, the rookie, should have a strong impact. It looks like he will be playing, Jimenez's left field slot at least to open up the season. So I'm excited about this team. And you can't talk about the White Sox without mentioning reigning AL MVP Jose Abreu. This guy, really talented player, really talented team. I'm excited to watch this team play. Of course, they did trade for Lance Lynn this offseason. We'll see how that goes. But this Chicago looks ready to compete. I won't be shocked if they trade for another pitcher around the deadline. Now, yes, I do have Minnesota on the outside of the playoffs. Why? I don't trust the pitching, and I don't trust this team's ability to stay healthy. When you're Minnesota, now I'm a well-known hater of these power-hungry teams that only want to hit home runs. Unfortunately, Minnesota is one of those teams. Now, they like hitting home runs. I get that. It's ideal for baseball. You want to keep hitting home runs. But you can't expect to win all these games if all you do is hit home runs. Now, it looks like Byron Buxton's going to start becoming more of a home run hitter. That might help him out when it comes to injuries. I get that. The problem, though, is how long can Minnesota maintain being good? How long can Nelson Cruz remain this amazing player? He's in his 40s. How long can this last? I'm not sold on Minnesota. I hope they prove me wrong. I'd love to see Minnesota take a run. I'm not sold on that pitching staff. I'm not sold on Jose Barrios. There's so many players I'm unsure of. Josh Donaldson, I'm just not sold on these guys. Cleveland, we should just call them the Biebers at this point because that's who they are. They're Shane Bieber and Jose Ramirez. Of course, the pitching staff is there. They have Aaron Savali, a Connecticut-born player. I'd like to point that one out. So this team's got some good players. Of course, they have, that's really it, actually, at this point. So there's some talent in Cleveland, and the only thing keeping them from 4th or 5th place is just Kansas City and Detroit. Kansas City, listen. Kansas City, you guys are in for another bit of a rough year. I do love buying Andrew Benintendi. Great buy low acquisition, in my opinion. You should reap the benefits from this one. Very excited about him for you guys. Other than that, though, Adalberto Mendesi is one of the most polarizing players in baseball. You'd think someone like myself would like him. All he does is steal bases. I'm not the biggest fan of Mendesi, so we'll have to see what happens. Kansas City, though, big-time sellers, in my opinion. Lastly, Detroit. Detroit's got a bright future, so there's that. We're going to start seeing some of their pitchers debut this year. We're hopefully going to see guys like Casey Mize. He's going to have a key role in the rotation, at least to start the season. Tariq Skubal as well. So we'll have to see how they both can do in the big leagues. Hopefully they start doing well. But Detroit, help is on the way. It's just you're going to have a hiccup in 2021. So my playoff standings, I have the Yankees in first, White Sox in second, Houston gets third, Tampa Bay fourth, Los Angeles fifth. Put it this way, Tampa Bay will beat Los Angeles in a wild card game. One-time game, home game. I do trust the pitching more in Tampa. I trust the offense more in Tampa, but we'll see. So that's my predictions. I'm not going to go any further than that. So now we go to the NL, and we're going to start with the NL West. And of course, come on, you have to have the Dodgers winning this division. This is the Dodgers division. They're the reigning World Series champions. Very excited if I'm a Dodgers fan. This team added players on the pitching staff at least. Adding Trevor Bauer, homegrown Trevor Bauer. So I'd be very excited. Of course, yes, they did lose some depth on the offense, losing Kike Hernandez, losing a couple other players. No real superstars. Of course, Jock Peterson's loss is going to hurt. But, offensively, this team could afford to lose some players. It was the pitching staff where they really couldn't. Walker Buehler should have a strong 2021 campaign. So, all in all, I'm excited if I'm a Dodgers fan. Padres are probably your offseason winners. They made so many moves this offseason. And the only thing keeping them from arguably the 1 seed in the NL is the Dodgers. This team is so talented. I love watching Fernando Tatis Jr. play. I love watching all the young guys they have. They have one of, if not the best pitching staff in the league. Of course, they added players to that pitching staff. Clevenger's out for the year. That's going to hurt. But adding Blake Snell really helps. Adding Joe Musgrove really helps. So, San Diego, you guys have a really good chance to make a run this year. I'd love to see it. The Padres have been so irrelevant for so long. It'll be nice. Arizona is my third place team. And that might surprise some people, but I've said it before. They're just the definition of average. That's what they are. They're good enough where they should be able to compete and beat teams like San Francisco and Colorado, but they're not good enough to actually compete for a playoff spot. So this is a team I could really see going 81-81 or 80-82, and that's not good. I mean, I still don't understand that signing of Madison Bumgarner, and that's a year ago at this point. So it boggles my mind. Anyway, I don't want to keep going on about that one. This team has some good players. It's just the only thing keeping them out is the fact that San Francisco and Colorado are both clearly in rebuilds. I do like San Francisco, but your championship window is far closed. You're going to start seeing a lot of the guys leave that are still hanging around. Brandon Belt, Buster Posey, they both might be on their last years. Crawford might be leaving soon. If you're a Giants fan, you don't have the best farm system right now. You don't have a great pitching staff right now. It's going to be a brutal year. But the only thing keeping you guys out from the basement is the Colorado Rockies, who are the definition of having a brutal year. You traded away your best player in Nolan Arenado after you signed him to a big contract 2 years ago. Or a year ago. I don't remember exactly when it was. That hurts you big time. A year and a half ago, I think it was. But that just really hurts you. And why does that hurt you? Because your best player on the team right now, Trevor Story, is a pending free agent. So why would he want to re-sign with you if he just saw you trade away Arenado after signing him to a big deal? It wouldn't make sense. I think Trevor Story might be traded this year. That will hurt Colorado even more. Yes, playing in Coors is great. Yes, CJ Cron's a great player. But other than that, I don't have much confidence in this team. Germán Marquez, great player. But, do you really trust Charlie Blackmon anymore? I don't. Not anymore. So, next we have the NL East. And the NL East is going to be an interesting division for sure. And this is a division that I know I'm going to get some hate for. So I have Atlanta winning this division. Atlanta is a strong team. They added some pitching help this year, of course, adding Charlie Morton. But other than that, Mark Soroka should come back soon. Well, relatively soon. He very well might return in April. That will really help Atlanta. They missed him during the 2020 postseason. And, of course, they did re-sign Marcell Ozuna. So we're going to have to see what the Braves can do this year. They really should be competing. If it weren't for the Dodgers, they would probably be the 1 seed. There would be a really close race between them and San Diego. And I would give the edge to the Braves. This team is talented. This team is ready to go. They're playing in a very tough division in the NL East, but I have a lot of confidence in them. Next, we have the New York Mets, who I have sneaking in the playoffs as the 5 seed. New York, I might be buying the hype a little bit on the Mets, but I do like Francisco Lindor. I do think Cohen's a great owner. I think that they're gonna, if they feel like they're a couple moves away, they'll make those couple moves during the trade deadline. Very excited for the Mets. They've dealt with some brutal years recently. Of course, they were very close to winning the World Series back in 2015, but then they went through a rebuild. Now here we are back in competitive form. Lindor, we'll have to see if he gets a contract extension soon. I know that's 3 big-name shortstops I've discussed recently about contract extensions / pending free agents. We'll have to see. But the Mets, this should be your best year in a little while. Philadelphia, I have as the 3 seed. And this is a team I know I'm going to get hated on for. Yes, I'm a Phillies fan, but hear me out. This is a team that's basically returning the exact same team from last year. You might be saying, oh, that's not good. The last year, Philly team went 28-32. They missed the playoffs. Fair point. However, the improvements that the Phillies made were at the back end of their rotation, and, of course, the bullpen. They had a historically bad bullpen in 2020. They addressed that. They went out and they got a bunch of players, of course, Alvarado, Archie Bradley, Sam Coonrod even, and Brandon Kinsler. Those 4 guys should be key pieces in this bullpen. The Phillies should rebound. I think Harper's going to have a great year this year. I think Nola's going to have a great year this year. Nola should be one of the better pitchers this year. He should be one of the few guys that I could, he is going to be one of the few guys I can realistically see jumping 200 innings this year. I'm excited for the Phillies. I think I might be a little high on them than other people are, especially having them over Washington and Miami. Now, Washington's a team, you can't count out this team with that pitching staff. It's just not fair to do it. Yes, Corbin should be regressing more. I think Patrick Corbin's time as an elite starter is done, if you ever want to call him as an elite starter. But Scherzer, come on, you can't count out Max Scherzer. And of course, this team has Juan Soto, arguably the second best player in baseball behind Mike Trout. Him versus Acuna, you could debate that for a while, but I would probably go Soto myself. And this is just a very talented team. Trey Turner's still there. There's still some key pieces. We're going to have to see. It's going to come down to some of the lesser name players like Victor Robles. He needs to step up this year. He can't do what he did last year. He needs to focus on contact more than power. Lastly, I have the Marlins. You might be saying, Marlins made the playoffs last year. You don't know what you're talking about. That's understandable. I can see where you're coming from. My thing with the Marlins is I still don't trust that pitching staff. And I think most of their hitters just got hot. I think they got lucky last year. I could see this Marlins team make the playoffs, okay? Don't make me wrong. Don't take me wrong. I could realistically see any of these 5 NL East teams in the playoffs this year. The only team I couldn't see missing the playoffs in the NL East is Atlanta. It would take a lot for that to happen. So, Marlins, don't get me wrong. There's some talent there. I'm just not 100% sold on them. Not yet, anyway. Lastly, we're going to have the NL Central. And this is going to be one of the other divisions that I might get some hate for. So I have the Cardinals winning it. Now, you might be thinking, oh, that's pretty logical. Yeah, the Cardinals did add Nolan Arenado. Yes, he's going to help their rough offense last year. So I'd be pretty excited if I'm a Cardinals fan. This should be one of your best years in recent memory. You guys have a chance to make a run. You usually play well against Atlanta, so matching up against Atlanta in the postseason would definitely help you out a lot. But if you meet the Dodgers, I don't have much confidence in them. The pitching staff isn't the best in the league. I get that. Jack Flaherty's there, but other than that, I'm not exactly sold on anyone else. But this is a team whose offense can definitely compete. Of course, Goldschmidt, Arenado, Tommy Edman even. There's just a lot of talent in St. Louis. Milwaukee, I have behind them. Milwaukee, as a whole, just had a bad year in 2020, and they still made the playoffs. Christian Yelich definitely should bounce back this year. If he doesn't, I'd be very disappointed in him and the team. Of course, this team has Josh Hader. Of course, this team has Devin Williams. You can't go against this team and make it to the 9th inning and feel comfortable, or the 8th inning in a 1-run lead or 1-run deficit and feel comfortable. You don't want to have a close game against this team because those relievers are going to kill you. Oh, man. And then, of course, they did have Colton Wong in the free agency. I have a lot of confidence in Milwaukee. I just don't think they're a playoff team. Cincinnati, I have in 3rd over Chicago. Now, Cincinnati is the team I like because of the pitching staff. They have a very strong pitching staff. Of course, Sonny Gray is already dealing with an injury, but they still have Luis Castillo and they have Tyler Mahle. I like both those guys. I do think they're all going to have good years when they all play, specifically Mahle. I think he's an eventual opening day starter for this team, but that doesn't mean he's going to be amazing, elite in 2021. The offense has to bounce back. Everyone in this offense had a bad year in 2020. They have to bounce back. It's just not conceivably possible for this offense to do this bad again. There's so much talent there. Then I have Chicago. I'm low on Chicago just because I think I won't be shocked if they struggle, if they have a cold stretch in June to July. I think they'll start to trade away guys. I could see Rizzo getting traded away. I could see, he's a pending free agent, remember. I could see Contreras getting traded away. So expect a potential fire sale. Chris Bryant, same thing. I don't have much confidence in the Cubs for making a big run this year. The pitching staff isn't there anymore. Lastly, Pittsburgh. Do you really want me to talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates? I'll say this. Brian Hayes looks like a great player. I really like him as a player. Expect a lot out of Brian Hayes this year. Other than him, maybe Adam Frazier will be a solid player, but there's no one else in that team that I really have interest in watching him, period. I don't know if I want to watch any Pirates games this year. Now, how do I have the playoffs? I have the Dodgers winning the NL, the Braves as the 2 seed, Cardinals as the 3, Padres as the 4, and Mets as the 5. The Padres should smoke the Mets in the playoffs, which of course would be bad for a lot of teams because that would put San Diego v. Atlanta and St. Louis v. LA. Sorry, St. Louis. I don't think you can beat LA. The other matchup would be very interesting, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Have a good rest of your day.